everyone, Kim here. I haven't done a mixed media project for a couple of weeks. I've been busy taking care of my son. I'm using Vicky's method in gluing these two pages together, and I don't have very much medium left, so I was trying to be kind of frugal with it, but in fact that's not the best idea. You really want to get that a lot of medium in there and get that glued down. I was thinking about using Mod Podge, but I couldn't get it open and I didn't want to hassle with it. So this one I put on a little bit too much, but all in all that's okay because it really held those two pages together. I like the fact of having the 2-page thickness. It doesn't tend to curl up so much. Then when you're on the one page and you've got a lot of paint and embellishments and stuff like that on it. Now I just like to put wax paper on there. It protects that page underneath it. I can't remember who I actually saw do this first. But all right. So I'm going to go ahead and try the clear gesso versus the regular gesso that I've always used because I had never done it before and I really wanted to have like a varnished look, which I have the varnished gesso, but I opted to just try this one because I hadn't used it before. So, and I'm putting a lot on there. I want to really be able to move the colors around. This project is actually a tribute to my friends and family that live in the Midwest and the East Coast that have been dealing with the awful weather, including earthquakes, which is kind of strange. I'm just going to go ahead and use this paintbrush, and it's going to give it a little bit of texture to it. It's a real soft hair, I'm going to say, paintbrush. I don't know much about paintbrushes, but that's how I would describe it. It's got real soft brushes on it. Now this is a real pretty, this is all acrylic. It's like a light blue. And I don't have a lot of color in this mixed media project. It's mostly just blue, silvers, and whites and a little bit of black. Because when I think about snow and the coldness, I think about, you know, blues and snowflakes and things like that. I'm just trying to dry this up because I put on way too much and I was ready to put down my little stencil there. Now I'm using modeling paste for the first time. I've always used the spackling when it comes to texturing. So we'll have to see how this turns out. I got this at Walmart. And as I'm putting it on, the blue is kind of bleeding through it because I put so darn much on there. But in actuality, it turned out kind of pretty because it was like a blue swirl inside that. This one was a little bit more with the blue. I would just wonder if you all ever have days where you're feeling really, really creative, and then some days where you kind of feel creative and you just kind of want to sit down and paint and relax. This is one of those days. I just wanted to sit down and paint and relax and wasn't feeling real creative, but all in all, you know, I kind of liked how it turned out. This is a piece of bubble wrap, and the paint is just so thick on there. It actually turned out kind of good that using that bubble wrap, it gave it a lot of texture. Whoever invented bubble wrap anyway, did they ever know that we would be using it for texture? I wonder. Now this is a piece of scrap paper that I had from scrapbooking, and I found it and I thought I'm gonna put some clouds on that. And I should have put more now that I'm done with the project. A couple more strips of that would have been kind of cool. And I'm pulling my Mod Podge out and trying to get that darn thing open, and I forget every time that I have to wash the lid when I'm done with it. So I just grabbed what was ever there in front of me. I believe that was my medium. and stuck it on right there. And I left the white torn part around the edges. I liked that. And just going to lay that right there. And putting a little bit more medium on top of it. And as you can see, my paintbrush touched the blue and brought it back down on those clouds. So I just left it. This is like a brown color. I really wanted to give it a little bit of a frame, but I didn't really like what I did here. So you'll see in a minute. I set it aside and just decided not to use it. So, and then I'm wetting my finger and just going around. This is a brownish color. Now I've seen one of the mixed media artists that I subscribe to. I know her first name is Vicky, but I do not know how to pronounce her last name. She has the most beautiful accent and her artwork is amazing. And I see her do this with her mixed media, how she frames it, and my mind just went blank on exactly how she does it. I actually tried to use a gelato pen in there, and it just, I don't know, it just wasn't working out. That's the first time I've done this, so I have to watch some more YouTube videos, or if anybody of you have suggestions on how you use that, I am ready to listen. Yeah, Vicky does it so she just blends it in so nicely. So I know there's a trick to it, I just couldn't remember what it was. This is just white acrylic. I just bought this. I got it at Michael's and I had a 40% off coupon, so jumped right on that. I used the white and black. I think it is more than any color there that I use. Now, I saw this method used multiple times on YouTube channels, and I thought that would be perfect for the snowflakes, just to give it some texture. And I couldn't remember if the artists that I was watching had wet their paintbrush first or if they just did it strictly with straight acrylic. I did wet the paintbrush a little bit. And then it ended up getting on there pretty well. This is just a swirl stamp, and it just reminded me of the wind. And I'm putting on my acrylic block there, and I'm going to use some archival ink. Now, Kelly, if you're watching this, you were right. If you put too much of your embellishments on that previous page, when you go to do the next page, you can't push down on it because the other stuff on the other pages are in the way. So, I'll have to remember that. I'm a newbie. So on the right side, everything was fine, but on the left side, it didn't quite get that clear stamp because there was too much junk underneath. All in all, it was okay though. I think it would have been better if I would have actually used some embossing powder for that now that I'm editing the video and I see. This is Tattered Angels, and I think it's called Snow Globe. And it just makes it all sparkly. And I'm trying to get this dried up because the dark blue that I put on there is still pretty thick. I have a tendency of doing that. I put it too thick. And these are some little Jolie snowflake embellishments. And I'm just going to put 2 on each page. I was going to put 3 because I have this thing about 3 things on a page, 3 things on a card, 3 things on a layout. But I just went ahead and did 2. And then I went into my Christmas stamps and I found this snowflake. I knew what I wanted to do with this project, but executing it was a little tricky. And my sleeve got caught to my book. That would have been a disaster, right? Now this is archival ink, white color box. And it turned out really good. Now this takes a while to dry. You don't want to just shut your page right after you do this. Now how would I know that? Now I probably will go back and glue those embellishments on a little better, because I know they're going to fall off, especially with that page being wet like that. I don't know if any of you, when you start your projects, if you have, you know, what you want in mind, and then as you start it and you're going through it, it ends up being totally different than what you had originally wanted it to be. And this was kind of how that was. My vision was that, you know, these people, and if you're one of them, are still living in the snow, and it has to be horrible. It just, to have it every single day, and there's so many people without power, and this is my vision. This is my page that I vision, that it's, you know, windy and cold, and snowflakes everywhere, and so I'm going to try and dry that again. If I could send some California sunshine your way, I would definitely do that. Now at this point, I'm kind of running out of ideas. Kind of thinking, oh, I want more snowflakes. I went ahead and decided I want to go ahead and cover up those edges a little bit. That's just some pewter paint, or what I'm trying to say, acrylic paint. Oh gosh, wipe your hands, Kim, because you're dirty. Silly. No, actually, I just didn't want to mix the paints. This is a stamp that I've been using. It's from TPC, and it just says thinking of you. And I went ahead and inked it up with that color box white ink. Just stamped it all over the page. Thinking of you and my friends and my family back there. Just trying to survive through all this. Now I wet my finger, and just, I didn't like how it wasn't transitioning there. It was just like dark and then blue. It wasn't. So I went ahead and tried to use my white acrylic dauber, just kind of making like a little snow mound there. I ended up kind of liking how that turned out. I put a little at the top, which you can't see because my book is up too far. And I'm going to put a little bit more of the Glimmer Mist on. I wanted it really, really sparkly. I ran out that one bottle, so I had to grab the second one that I had. Well, we're almost finished here. I'm trying to get it dried up. Now, the next thing I'm about to put on, I regret doing it because after I put it on, I remembered that it doesn't really dry. I've used the Viva gel pen, not gel pens, the Viva pens on scrapbook layouts before, and it just never dried. It got stuck together, and so here I am. I'm putting it on. I wanted it to have a little bit of texture, some bumpy, and you know, I'm just gonna let it sit out for a few days, open like that, and hopefully it will dry. That's just like a pearl color, and then that one's a silver color. I like that it bumps up like that. It's got texture, so I'm just hoping that after it's open for a few days, it's not going to end up sticking the papers together. I'm just giving it a little bit of, you know, heat here to kind of dry it up a little bit. And that's it. So thank you all so much for watching. I'm open for suggestions. Thanks so much. Have a great day.